has been well documented for years by others for all to see and read on the Internet. To this day, that is Turner's M.O. He does it constantly. Read the claims of Fulford, Casper, Nassara, Rumor Mill News, etc., wait a week or so, and then take credit for the events that prove even possible, let alone true. I have been following that article by article over a year and have seen and heard him do it time after time, and the Kool-Aiders lap it up every time. Ever since Turner's true position with Homeland Security with FEMA was exposed, and I was certainly not the first to share it, he has spent a lot of time claiming he never worked there, and indeed has threatened many people in writing over it. Gee, if that were true, why would Sam Kennedy have had this to say at the end of this call?
You were in the public. How do you think people at FEMA would respond to such a thing? I didn't ask you that. Let me pick your brain a little here.
Most of the people would embrace it. Some of them wouldn't, but most of them would.
Would people at the top end of FEMA understand what this document's about?
Some would, but they think they're already what we're trying to create. They think they already are, and the Americans and free men, and they've been brainwashed, and so it's a little bit. I think that most people would embrace it because it reinforces what they think they are.
Did you hear Turner deny his affiliation with FEMA? There were more conversations and planning until the Sullivan Group, which included many so-called assemblies in different states under other gurus, came together and formed what Sam Kennedy presented as the Restore America Plan, TRAP for short. By this time, Tim Turner and his sidekick Billy Ray Hall, who had traveled around with Turner around the country arranging and booking the seminars Turner was at that time using to line his pockets at the expense of the innocent, pushing a worthless administrative remedy he'd not only had not developed but had stolen from others and knew full well would never work, as even if a person would somehow win in a court, if he or she sought enforcement, they'd end up both penniless and incarcerated. Many did just that. For a long time, I thought a gentleman by the name of Mike Higgins in Hawaii was the first victim of Turner's wrath when he proved to be too intelligent to fall for the constant lies and demanded answers. I thought I was second in that regard. Turns out I was wrong on both counts. There was another person who was demonized months before Mike or myself. This man I had never heard of until some others in the group said nasty things about him and made claims that he was a lunatic, etc. I didn't know back then that was to be Turner's first tactic with every person who asked the hard questions. Just label him crazy, accuse him of false actions, etc. In any event, I never met the man, nor knew anything about him other than the smear campaign Turner had launched, until I received a copy of a letter written by Mr. Mike DeCossola, which reveals many things about the structure of RAP just before Turner took over completely. I will now read that letter. February 22nd, 2010. Hello, Sam, Tim, and Billy Ray. After careful research and deliberation with the Assembly members, as the delegate appointed on the de jure Illinois County Assembly, I, Mike DeCossola, have completed my due diligence and have concluded by way of reasonable doubt that this method by which to resolve our grievances is not within our lawful rights, remedies, and authority. Sam, you have used the word inducted within your email to me. Inducted is a word used for citizens that will be inducted into the military. Once you are into the military, you are classified as an enemy combatant. You have not replied to any of my commentary or have shown any true leadership by way of lawfully appointed authority or even by administrative duty to answer to and account for all questions presented to you. I have attempted to ask you to contact me by way of phone as well and to provide your contact phone number, but this was to no avail. You are negotiating on behalf of we the people to an authority that has not been revealed to us, yet you have never been given such authority by the people to do such a thing. it is to our understanding that you have not been acting in the form of your lawful birthright name. The AKA, or also known as name, that you have is not the birth name you've been given. Please explain if this bit of information is accurate. You nor any of the elders have signed their names on the declaration, and you have used an alias name for your name of choice. We are expected to sign blindly to the declaration after you have clearly shown, by way of written statement via email, that our questions are delusional waste of time. The elders have not signed their names on this document first, and that is a tall tale for concern. I'll interject here. Sam Kennedy's real name is Richard Glenn Unger, DDS, a dentist. Nothing I've found on him is good. It seems there are many people wishing to perform their own brand of dentistry on him, but I have no first-hand experience. I just know that he was using an alias. I continue with the letter. I have heard you on your first call answer someone that asks you if the military has been giving you instructions, and you told her no. Number 15.
Yeah, we skipped 13 and 14.
That's my concern, is that both groups going to try to do something and accomplish it. That's my concern, because if we go forward, declaration this get signed and printed next week, presented next week, and it doesn't have the support of the military, we're all dead. It's that simple.
Well, you won't be physically dead, but what I said before applies. Excuse me. Hang on a second. Yeah, what I said before applies. The military will not brook a controversy that would erupt into violence. And very candidly, we have a scenario. Once we get our signatures, Kelly, we're in a position where we will be immediately back in the de jure realm, repopulating, re-inhabiting the de jure institution. And we'll be dealing directly with our military contacts in the immediate. Get the signatures, boom, take one of the intermediary steps, 7 days later, boom, right to the military, and here's what we're going to be doing. So we're going to move ahead, and I really don't anticipate that any procedure that anyone's doing will be an interference with that. I do anticipate that people need to be careful, because if there's a conflict of some sort, then the military is going to settle it, and they're going to settle it based upon the orders of those that have reconstituted the de jure institutions appropriately, or at least according to their prescription. Now remember, they made the offer to us. I may have mentioned that on the air. We didn't propose this to them. They made the offer to us. It was a shocking thing. You can imagine how we felt when they sat down. You know, in those conversations, we don't do a lot of talking. We listen. And
I understand.
Those conversations never took place, but I'll go on with the letter. She then asked you if they have read the document, and you said no. Why would we ask the military to read the document if it's not ready? It will look as though we are not ready for the Republic. Now you email me stating that you are under obligations to ensure the process moves forward expediently. Who are you obligated to? Who have you insured? You state that you are currently in negotiations when I was told by Tim that the declaration was final. What are you still negotiating? Who gave you the authority to do such a thing on behalf of we the people?
And even there's some controversy, but we have contacts at Vatican level, and we have contacts at supra-military level, and we're blessed to have these. And what's going on now with the currency and other things is a struggle. We can talk about it some other time, but it's a struggle beyond what you would expect. And when you really understand the forces that are at work here, it galvanizes you as to certain ways of proceeding, because, Kelly, there are people, and I'm not referring to Blackwater now, there are people for whom destruction of much of mankind, or let me put it another way, there are people for whom sacrificing their young is considered a spiritual necessity to move to the next level, and they are in control. And I'm not kidding you. That's how dirty it is.
I know exactly what you're talking about, Sam. I understand fully what that is.
All right.
You mock the fact that I ask a question such as the meaning to the use of the word North America in the Guardian Oath. Even Tim Turner's documents for a secured party creditor have definitions which describe each word in order to make a clear understanding as to the meaning of the words used in the security agreement between the principal secured party and the straw man. Are you telling me that the most important document of this generation's life does not require such a thing? There is case law that will support the concerns we have, which is listed below. Although I believe the Declaration has good points of redress and orders, the method is in error and has several holes of interpretation that can be converted to color of law for years to come from our renowned nemesis, the Bar Association, and members thereof. You call us guardians. Guardians are persons, corporation, charged with the duty of taking care of the person and managing the property and rights of another person who, for defect of age, understanding, or self-control, is considered incapable of administrating his own affairs. So first we are complaining that we have others managing our affairs, and now we are going to manage others' affairs as a corporate fiction. We jump from one frying pan into another. You call yourselves elders. Since you do not have a definitions page, and we are now forced to be the first to interpret the words of this document, here are the definitions we can conclude your words to mean. Elders can mean either elder's title, which applies to who has the highest authority that prevails, or it can mean elders brethren, elected masters of Trinity House, or as full title of the corporation would call it, elder brethren of the Holy and Undivided Trinity, which is charged with duties of the Marine Maritime Admiralty. He then goes over the definitions of Trinity House, Trinity Masters, and then says about Trinity setting, he describes that. We are short on time, so I'm not going to read all of those definitions until he comes to a grand jury is based on a jury of inquiry who finds bills of indictment in cases where they are satisfied a trial ought to be had. They are sworn and instructed. Doesn't seem we have any power here, does it? With duties to determine whether probable cause exists that a crime has been committed and whether an indictment, true bill, should be returned against one for such crime. This is a commercial transaction, again, which holds no authority of discretion in favor of the jury whatsoever, as compared to a common law trial by a jury of your peers. I would have received the vote of the National Assemblies on this document. You would have only needed 50 signatures, which are one from each delegate, or one from each de jure organic state, republic. Instead, you need 26 from each state, and you are giving us a take-it-or-leave-it ultimatum. Please review case law below. He then cites case from 1937, 299, U.S. 353, or 81L, edition 278. This is a case that shows an unlawful assembly. Look it up. And then he cites a case that shows a lawful assembly. We and I do not and will not move forward with this method of redress and grievance. Although we will continue to find resolve by way of lawful and rightful vacancy of our de jure offices, reserved for us by way of Constitution and blueprinted for us by way of lawful and peaceful assembly, we will not be part of a hostile corporate takeover against a federal municipal corporation and become classified as enemy combatants. We will trigger the Trading with the Enemy Act and the Patriot Act, and we'll have one-way ticket to FEMA. I pray that whatever you and yours decide, God watches over you and your families from the possible ramifications that will follow in this futile attempt for delusional, as you would put it, justice. As the appointed delegate on the organic de jure Illinois Republic, I must decline the position of coordinator and decline the position and duties of such solicitation, as Sam called it, if it is interpreted that I have already taken a position of coordinator. It was done so without full disclosure, and all presumed powers of attorney, duties, responsibilities, and or actions are hereby